Remember the first type? The first type was when we're talking about facts and habits, right? So can someone give me an example of a conditional that shows a habit? If I go to your country, if I go to your country,
You have to have a visa.
I have to have a visa, right? If I shop at the bazaar, I need cash, okay? So those are habits, right? Okay, but these conditionals, right? I'm talking about future real, okay? They're for the future and they're real. They are possible. Remember, we always have an if clause and we always have a result clause, okay? So in the if clause, this is a condition, okay? If this condition is true, this will happen, okay? So for example, if I open an umbrella indoors, I will have bad luck, okay? We're talking about superstitions. I don't really believe them, but okay. But this is the result, and it's future this time, okay? It's not a habit, it's not a fact, it's future, okay? Here's the condition. If I do this thing, this will be the result, okay? So look, what's another superstition that we talked about?
The black cat.
If we see a black cat, what?
You will have a bad luck.
Bad day, bad luck.
Okay, a bad day. Okay, good. All right, so same thing. Here's the condition. If this thing happens, this will happen next. Okay? All right, so that's a future conditional, but there's some rules that I need you to see. So in the if clause and in the result clause, we have a few options. In the if clause, you know we need the word if, right? And then we need a subject, and then we need a verb, and then a comma, right? In the result clause, again, we need a subject, we need a verb. But over here, what verb tense can I use? Look at the examples. If I open, if we see, yeah, simple present. Simple present. So if I see a black cat, I will.
Future.
Good. Over here, we use future. Two different ways that we can use future. They're both completely perfect and fine and normal, and both of them are common. So we can use will, or we can use be going to. Okay? So if I open an umbrella indoors, I will have bad luck, or I
I'm going
am going to have bad luck, right? If we see a black cat, we will have a bad day, or we are going to have a bad day. Another thing you can do for future is you can talk about future possibility, remember? This is when something will happen, right? You're very sure. But maybe you're not sure. Maybe you're just 50% sure, right? So we can use may, might, could. These are all future possibility. You could even use should to talk about future advice in the future, right? So let's get some more examples.
What about the can?
Yeah, you can also use can to talk about future ability, right? So can is ability, should is advice, and these three are future possibility, right? Ought to is same. Okay? So let's get some examples. Okay. So if let's say if John walks under a ladder, comma, what? Let's use a modal. Maybe we're not really sure what will happen.
He
It
might have a bathroom.
He might.
have a bad dream. Bad dream.
He might have a bad dream,
Yeah.
right? That's possible. Or we could say he may have a bad dream. Or we can say he could have a bad dream. These have the same meaning, right? Right? Okay. What if we want to give him advice? If John walks under a ladder, what should he do? If John walks under a
Not
ladder,
open an umbrella.
he should. If he walks under a ladder, he should.
Not
Should be pay attention.
He should not be on the
But he already walked under it. So what should he do now to
Pray to
protect
God.
himself?
Open umbrella.
close it. No. Go away from that.
If John walks under a ladder, he should be careful. He should be careful.
He
Because-
should be positive.
Okay. Yeah, positive.
Positive.
Have a good attitude.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you can say he ought to, right? He ought to be careful. This is if we want to give him advice in the future. What if I want to talk about something that can happen in the future? If he walks under a ladder, he can what? What's possible? What? He can hurt himself. Yeah. So if he does this, he will maybe, it's possible he has the ability to hurt himself. Okay? Good. Okay.
So
But if clauses always have to be the simple present.
Yeah, always simple present, almost always, yeah. Yeah. You could use present progressive. It's possible. You could use present progressive, right? It's just this one is much more common, but yeah. So if we are talking too much, what will happen in the future? If we're talking too much right now, right? What will happen?
we don't understand.
We will
We will
Need the water.
miss
Miss the information.
the information. Yeah, we'll miss the information. So if you use the progressive, that just means it's happening right now. If we're doing this right now, this will happen in the future. So yeah, you can use simple present or present progressive. Okay. Something else you can do is you could add then. Remember?
Yes.
You could add then. What does it mean when you add then?
Then or in actually in a
Emphasize.
workbook we had to use like unless.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that one
Or
too.
emphasize.
But what does then mean?
The emphasis.
If John walks under a ladder,
Have to
Then-
then
he has to.
Then means like
It means he
next.
has to.
Something happen after.
it's like next, but it just
It's
emphasizes the result. It makes the result stronger, right? So if we're talking too much, then we will miss the information, right? So it just pushes the result stronger, makes it stronger.
Excuse me, what about must and have to?
Okay. You can also use, for modals, you can also use must and have to, right? To talk about necessity, right? Something that he has to do in the future, right? So if we study all night, comma, we have to drink coffee the next day. right? If we do this, then we must, or we should, right? We must drink coffee the next day. That just means it's necessary in the future, okay? Okay, so,
How we can know we have to use the present, or how we can know you have to use the future for the result?
for the result, if you're talking about the future. So if you're trying to explain something about the future,
It's happening in the future.
then you need to use one of these, right? If you're, because this conditional is for future, right? So sometimes we have conditionals to explain habits. So if you work hard every semester, you do well, right? If you work hard, you do well. But if I'm talking about the future, if your phone rings in class, you will cause a commotion, right? Right? Okay? So it just, based off of what you're saying. If you're talking about the future, you're going to use the future. If you're talking about a habit, you're going to use simple present. So each chapter that we're doing is for a different use of conditional. So this is the second one. The second type of conditional is when we're talking about future. So if you work hard in this class,
You will get a good grade.
you will get a good
good
grade, maybe? Yeah? That's future. If you work hard in all of your classes, every semester, every year, you do well. So you can use simple present in the result if you're talking about a habit. But this chapter, we're talking about future. So we're talking about results that will happen in the future, okay?
But we use simple present for future. No, we can't.
Not in this one.
No.
No, yeah, not here. So if you want to use future, just will or be going to. Not simple present, not present
Not
progressive.
present.
Nope. Okay, so let me give you one more example. If the students write their papers in MLA format, comma, what will happen?
They will get a
Good grade.
A better grade. Yeah. Okay. So here's the future. We're talking about tomorrow. It's future. If they write, simple present. Okay? What will happen if you don't? So if they do not use MLA format, what? What will happen?
They won't.
They won't get a good grade?
No.
You can still get a good grade. Maybe you can say they will lose some points. Okay, good. So look at this. This is going to be very helpful. When we have if and a negative, right? If plus negative, you could turn that into unless, okay?
Without not.
Yes, no not. So if plus not equals unless. If plus not equals unless. Okay? If they don't use MLA format, they will lose some points. Or you can say unless, but it has to be affirmative. Unless they use MLA